Hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, welcome back. Okay, it's still in the weekend. So happy weekend, everyone. First, vocabulary review. Cash subsidies, tax advantages. These are sweeten the deal. Sleight of hand, 手边的 sleight of hand，这叫手法是吧？骗术，手法。sleight of hand, goodwill. Okay, that's all. That's all for yesterday. Okay, let's read the new paragraph. Accounting gimmicks are not fraud. Okay, book is like sleight of hand. Book is sleight of hand. 天呐，就是会计手法做账，也不是 fraud，这都是叫制度性腐败。嗯，We must keep in mind that a well-managed institution would never assume this kinds of risks or resort to fraudulent accounting if it wanted to stay in business for the long haul. But with Washington setting guidelines and standing by to make up losses, a manager would be fired if he didn't take advantage of the opportunity. After all, Congress specifically said it was okay when it passed the laws. These were loopholes deliberately put there to be used. These were deliberately loopholes 漏洞 loopholes 哦 deliberately deliberately de- 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 deliberately put there deliberately put there to be used. Dr. Edward King explains, deception itself doesn't constitute illegal fraud when it's authorized by an accounting system such as the generally accepted accounting principle system, which allows institutions to forego recording assets as their true worth, maintaining them instead at their inflated value. The regular accounting principle system in 1982 added even new options to overstate capital. Intense speculation, such as we observed in these firms, is not necessarily bad management at all. In most of these cases, it was clever management. There were clever gambles that exploited not depositors or savers, but taxpayers. Ah, there were clever gambles that exploited not the taxpayers. Intense speculators. Intense speculation. Intense speculation. With new options towards intense speculation, such as observed in this, it's not necessarily bad management. 激烈的猜测 It's not这个是什么意思呢？这个是什么意思呢？监管会计准则体系加上很多高估值资产的现象 ，added even new options to overstate capitals。像我们这些公司中观察到的激烈的投机行为 ，intense speculation，激烈的投机行为，激烈投机行为。Such as we observe in these terms, it's not necessarily bad management，完全不一定是高。知道了。会计准则的这个就是为这些公司的这叫什么激烈的投机行为啊，给他们垫底，所以就算是失败了，也有这个 taxpayer 来垫底儿。The press has greatly exaggerated
exaggerate,
aggerate,
exaggerate,
exaggerate 这个词可以一个exaggerate exaggerate. Exaggerate. The press has greatly exaggerated the role of illegal fraud in these matters with much time spent excoriating the likes of Donald Dixon at Vernon SLA and Charles Keating at Lincoln Savings. True, these flops cost the taxpayer well over $3 billion. But all the illegal fraud put together amount to only about 0.5% of the total losses so far. Focusing on that minuscular 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 对吧？是吗 ？minuscular skill fraction minuscular fraction 分数一多少小部分 minuscular fraction commonly serves only to distract from the fact that the real problem is government regulation itself. Focusing on that minuscular component serves only to distract from the fact that the real problem is government regulation itself. Regulation 管理规定，这也是障眼法呗。Junk bonds are not junk. Another part of the distraction has been to make it appear that the Swifts go into trouble because they were heavily invested in junk bonds. Wait a minute. What are junk bonds? Anyway, this may come as a surprise, but those held by the assets were anything but junk. In fact, in terms of risk-return ratios, most of them were superior grade investment to bonds from the Fortune 500 companies, so-called junk bonds, are merely those that are offered by smaller companies which are not large enough to be counted among the nation's giants. The large investors, such as managers of mutual funds,共同基金
mutual,
mutual funds, and retirement funds prefer to stay with well-known names like General Motors and IBM. They need to invest truly huge blocks of money every day, and the smaller companies just don't have enough to offer to satisfy their needs. Consequently, many stocks and bonds from smaller companies are not traded in the New York Stock Exchange. They are traded in smaller exchanges or directly between brokers in what is called over-the-counter. Because they do not have the advantage of being traded in the larger markets, they have to pay a higher interest rate to attract investors, and for that reason, they are commonly called high-yield bonds. High-yield bonds, 高边际的高风险 bonds. High yield, 高收益 high yield bonds. Bonds offered by these companies are derived by some brokers are not being investment grade, yet many of them are excellent performers. In fact, they have become an important part of the American economy because they are the backbone of new industry. The most successful companies of the future will be found among their ranks. During the last decades, while the Fortune 500 companies were shrinking and eliminating 3.6 million jobs, this segment of new industry have been growing and has created 18 million new jobs. Not all new companies are good investments. The same is true for older companies, but the small company sector generally provides more jobs, has greater profit margins, and pay more dividends. Than the so-called investment-grade companies. From 1981 to 1991, the average return to 10 years Treasury bills were 10.4 billion. 4%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was 12.9%, and the average return, so-called junk bonds, was 14.1%. Because of these higher yields, 高收益, they attract more than 180 billion from savvy investor. 精明的 to be savvy about something. Savvy investors. Some of whom were assessed. It was basically a new market which was orchestrated吸引是吧？进行策划密谋 which was orchestrated by an upstart Michelle Micken and the California-based brokerage house 被这个精明的商人细细的包装 brokerage house capital growth without bank loans or inflation capital growth 如何扩大它的资产不通过银行借贷和 inflation One of the major concerns at JEKYLL in 1910 was the trend to obtain business growth capital from sources other than bank loans. Wow. Here, 70 years later, the same trend was developing again in a slightly different form. Capital, especially for small companies, was now coming from bonds, 债券 which JEKYLL had found a way to mass market. Go to the message. 大量的，大多数的。To mass market. 资本，尤其是最小一点，现在来自债券、营销。To mass market. Mass market. Mass market 不是 mass 是堆 mass of mass 堆大量 a great mass of evidence mass of something as just or simply a mass of numbers 大多数 the masses 民众大量 adjective 大量的 mass market tradition 聚集在市场 word背一下 mass market 将产品推广到营销分销 had found a way to mass market bonds a product designer for the mass market 大众市场大众市场大规模营销In fact, JEKYLL was even able to use those bonds to engineer corporation takeovers an activity that previously had been reserved for the mega investment houses. By 1986, JEKYLL has become the most profitable investment bank in the country. Here was 180 billion that no longer was being channeled through Wall Street. Here was 180 billion that was coming from people's savings instead of being created out of nothing by the banks. That was coming from people's savings instead of being created out of nothing by the banks. In other words, here was growth built upon real investments, not inflation. Certain people were not happy about certain people were not happy about it. Glenn Yoga, director of the economic research, 官僚 Bureau 办事处 Bureau and associate professors of management at the State University of New York and Stony Brook explained the problem. It was not until high-yield securities were applied to restructuring through deconglomeration and takeovers the hostilities against the junk bond market broke out. The high-yield market grew at the expense of bank debt, and high-yield companies grew at the expense of the hegemony of many established firms. As Peter Purcell noted in New York Times, the impact was first felt on Wall Street, where sharp elbows and working knowledge of computer spreadsheets suddenly counted more than a nose for dry sherry or membership in school and bonds. The first line of attack on this new market of high-yield bonds, 高收益债券, was to call them junk. The word itself was powerful. The financial media picked it up, and many investors were frightened away. The next step was for compliant compliant 说服 will not comply 屈从 will not comply compliant to pass a law requiring assets to get rid of their junk, supposedly to protect the public. That this was a hoax. This was a hoax. Now, this was a hoax is evident by the fact that only 5% ever held any of these bonds, and their holdings represents only 1.2% of the total assets. Furthermore, the bonds were performing satisfactorily and were a source of much needed revenue. Nevertheless, 不仅如此 the Financial Institutions of Reform and the Recovery Act, which was discussed previous, was passed in 1989. It forced assets to liquidate at once their junk bond holdings that caused their prices to plummet. And the swaps were even further weakened as they took a loss on the sale. Jane Easter comments. Overnight profitable assets were turned into government-owned basket cases in the hands of Resolution Trust Corporation. To add to the disaster, the RTC itself, which became the country's biggest owner of junk bonds, flooded the market again with 1.6 billion of its holdings as the markets boomed in 1990. So it was government itself that crashed the junk bond market, not Michelle Macon, although the jailed Macon and other former officials of Texas Library have just agreed to a 1.3 billion settlement of the hundreds of lawsuits brought against them by government regulators, aggressive investors, and others demanding justice. Aggressive. Incidentally, these bonds have since recovered, and had the assets been allowed to keep them, they would be in better financial condition today, and so would be the RTC. With the California upstarts out of the way, it was a simple matter to buy up the detested bonds at bargain prices and to bring control of the new market back to Wall Street. New York firm of Solomon Brothers, for example, one of Texas' most served cities, several critics during 1980s, is now a leading trader in the market declaration. 哎呀，这就是政府监管。So the real problem within the savings and loans industry is government regulations, which has insulated insulated insulate 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 insulated 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 from the free market and encouraged it to embark upon unsound business practice as Wall Street stated. 哎，好了，今天就到这儿，今天状态不好，昨天看球没睡好觉。这个就是第一个高虚拟资产，通过会计的手法做账做到公司里，这个从会计制度上，它不是腐败 ，not fraud。第二个，垃圾债券，这里面讲的最主要的一章就是 capital growth without bank loans or inflation， 资本的成长不来自于银行贷款和那什么。这边讲了一个叫垃圾债券，垃圾债券是这些人给他添加的污名，它不叫垃圾债券，而是叫高成长债券。但是它侵犯了这几个大银行的利润空间，所以这写嘛 was the trend to obtain business growth capital from the source other than the bank loans. So 这里面就是说有一个公司 JEKYLL 他们公司一直在做高成长债券这个市场180个 billion， 结果大银行开始举报，然后让那些什么给他们先污名化，对吧？先控制媒体，这就是这样，控制媒体的作用就是污名化这个高成长性债券，然后这些高成长性债券让这些大的机构、大的保险、大的基金远离这些机构，远离这些投资市场，远离这些市场，然后疯狂的抛售。抛售完之后呢，这些市场就跌了个底儿朝天，然后媒体再进行大肆渲染，然后吓唬公众，对吧？他们就是对吧？就是利用公众就是一个他们手里的一个棋子，然后媒体呼啸完之后，这些人就赔的底儿朝天，赔的底儿朝天之后，在这个时候，他们在1980年的时候，他们下属的很多这个对吧？华尔街就叫 Solomon Brothers 再来控制这个市场。来自纽约的公司 Solomon Brothers bring control of the new market back to Wall Street， 控制权，这就是垃圾债券市场的控制权的争夺，也是这个 Federal Reserve System 这些大的公司、大的银行一起来争夺的一个事情，大概用了应该是十年的时间。然后 JEKYLL 把这个市场建立起来180个 billion 建立起来之后，然后这些大的公司开始争夺这个市场，所以这个总结就是 real problem is government regulation. Congress is paralyzed with good reason. 好，可以我们明天把这块读完吧。Okay, that's all for today. That's all for today. 我看一下啊 exaggerate, minuscular, fraction, minuscule, minuscule, skill, minuscule, fraction. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye bye. 哦，川普要上台了，明天就要就职典礼了。川普是什么样的一个商人呢？他是哪个利益集团的代表呢？我们看一看吧。OK，Thank you，拜拜。